Hey y'all, thanks so much for joining us today as we are making sweet potato puffs. Now some of you I know may be very familiar with sweet potato casserole, but this is the 1976 version of a marshmallow essentially wrapped in sweet potato, then rolled in cornflakes and baked. And let me just tell you y'all, this is absolutely delicious. It's so simple, it's so easy, and I highly advocate it for a holiday actually, because if you're like me, you're in the kitchen cooking and there are people constantly coming in complaining about being like ravenously hungry, like they've literally never eaten a meal in their lives. So just throw this in the oven, make some sweet potato puffs, serve them around like an appetizer. Brilliant, they're gonna think you're the best hostess ever. All right, y'all, so let's get started. So we're gonna start this recipe, I like to say 4, 4, 4, and 4, okay? So all you gotta remember is a bunch of 4s. We have about 4 large sweet potatoes right here in this bowl that I have already boiled. All I've got to do to make the sweet potato mixture is I'm gonna pour in 4 tablespoons of melted butter. Then I'm gonna do 4 tablespoons of dark brown sugar and then 4 tablespoons of heavy cream. So I'm just gonna whip these together. Oh, a little bit of brown sugar. Does that sound so weird? All right, we're just gonna whip these together. And you're essentially just gonna do this until they get really smooth, really nice and smooth. Awesome. Also, it's really hard to be ladylike when a squishing noise is going out of your cooking, so please forgive that. But I promise it's gonna taste really good and be totally worth your effort. All right, y'all, this is getting about the consistency that we want. And like anything delicious in life, if there's a little bit of lumps in it, like just like when you're making mashed potatoes and you're mixing, that's totally okay here. This does not have to be a perfect casserole by any stretch of the imagination. So I feel like we're nice and whipped up here. I'm gonna try and gently get this thing out. Okay, so that was literally the hardest part of this recipe. So y'all, if any of y'all are intimidated by making sweet potato casserole, this is the easy version that's gonna taste great. All right, now that I have brown sugar everywhere, let me clear this off a little bit, wipe my hands, get a paper towel here. And okay, so our next set of steps we're gonna do involve jumbo marshmallows and crushed cornflakes. So the beauty of this, let me clear these bowls, is that crushing cornflakes is actually very therapeutic. I don't know if y'all have ever done this. I mean, there's the typical method where you put them in a bag, you wrap them in a towel, and you bang on them with a hammer. But you know what? Let's Cook style is a little gentler. So what I like to do is actually use your hands and just crush them like this. Put them in a big bowl, crush them up with your hands. And something about that is very stress relieving. So if you've had a hard day, get a bowl of cornflakes, crush them up in your hands. You're gonna feel better. Not really quite sure why. Okay, and then one last thing. After we have our sweet potato mixture ready, you have the choice of adding in some chopped pecans. Now, growing up, I would eat sweet potato casserole with these amazing butter, brown sugar pecans baked on top. So I actually really like using pecans here. So I have about a half a cup of chopped pecans that I'm gonna stir in. And one other key to this recipe is that when you're making it, you want to make sure you have a spatula, just because it makes it so much easier to mix. And rubber spatulas have an ability to kind of cling to a bowl and get all the little bits out. So as you're mixing in these pecans, it's a really easy way to do it. Also, side note about the Nashville cookbook. So this recipe comes out of a section called vegetables. And I know typically when Southern people think about vegetables, you're thinking about squash and zucchini, maybe some black-eyed peas. But the cool thing about the Nashville cookbook is it takes some more sweet vegetables like sweet potatoes and does some really cool and interesting things with them. And so with this recipe, it actually talks about the history of the Hermitage, which is Andrew Jackson's home that he built, 7th President of the United States. And at the Hermitage, it was also a plantation, so they did a ton of entertaining. I'm going to talk to you about the history of this as I do this. They did a ton of entertained people like James Polk and former presidents, Confederate generals, really famous French people who I cannot pronounce their name to you. But one of the funny facts about this place was Andrew's wife, Rachel, was known for loving to have people over, love cook style, and she did it all the time. And Andrew Jackson has a quote about, if Rachel wasn't such a good manager, we would literally be broke from entertaining, which for those of you who like to entertain, you understand that. I thought that was a funny little quote about Andrew Jackson and his wife, and the Hermitage, which is a super cool place. So if you're ever near Lebanon Road in Nashville, Come check it out. It's really beautiful. All right, so we're gonna take our marshmallows, and these are jumbo size, so they're not the large ones. They're, if you're at the store, you're looking, they come in this huge bag, and they're pretty ginormous. So we're gonna take our marshmallow, put it into our sweet potato mixture, and just roll it around. Y'all, this is a great recipe for kids. I mean, I know as a kid, I loved getting messy in the kitchen. I thought it was so much fun to like take flour and throw it everywhere, which drove my mom insane. But for this recipe, it's a good fit. And like I said, this does not have to be perfect. This is a fun, free-for-all recipe. You can just get your hands dirty and mix it around. All right, y'all, so you're just gonna cover it with cornflakes and then transfer it to about a 9x13 pan. I'm gonna move this in a little bit closer here. And so you just repeat this with all your marshmallows. Take your marshmallow, dunk it in the sweet potato mixture. Make sure it gets nice and evenly coated all around here. And this is a part too with kids. Like, make sure that the one who likes to make the biggest mess is on this job because they'd have a blast. And then dunk it into your cornflakes. Use your hands, get messy. These are so delicious straight out of the oven. These are now taters, these are not later taters, you know what I'm saying? So make sure you eat them right out of the oven, because warming them up in the microwave, not so successful. They're still good, but they're just so much better right out of the oven. So like I said, if you have a bunch of hungry people in your kitchen, make a batch of these, feed them up, it'll make them feel a whole heck of a lot better. Okay, so we're just gonna keep on going with our marshmallows, roll them in the cornflakes, and put it in our pan. Typically, I can fit about 2 rows of 4 in the baking pans that I use. But even if you want to make like a really large pan, I mean, you could get bigger than a 9x13 and make more if you're feeding, say, more than 8 people. All right, y'all, we are on our last marshmallow here. And as you can see, my hands are gummy. There's cornflakes everywhere. There's probably stuff in my hair. I appreciate y'all loving me anyway. And we're gonna do this last one right here. Beautiful. Just enough cornflakes here. And I estimate needing about 5 cups of crushed cornflakes. So if you can just remember, you know, our 4, 4, 4, and 4, and then 5 for 5 cups of crushed cornflakes. All right, y'all. So that's all together. I'm gonna wipe my hands off here, and then we're gonna take this out, put it in a 375-degree oven for probably about 15 minutes until the marshmallows get nice and melty. So I'll see y'all in 15. So our sweet potato puffs have been baking for 15 minutes in a 375-degree oven. So I'm about to take these out. I wish y'all were here with us. It smells like sweet potato delicious heaven in here. Gosh, I wish y'all were here. All right, I'm gonna grab it out of the oven. Oh my goodness. Shut the oven door. It's important. Don't leave your oven door open. All right, y'all, so here it is, live and in person, sweet potato puffs. And I wanna give a shout out to Faye House. She is the writer, originator, developer of this recipe. And Faye, I'd love to know you one day because you did a beautiful job. All right, guys, all you gotta do now is serve it up to your hungry guest. I'm gonna take one out right here, show y'all, look at this, y'all. Gooey, delicious, yumminess, all sweeped out on a plate. Awesome. If you were here, I'd serve it right to you, and I think it would knock your socks off. Y'all, thanks so much for joining us for this episode of Love Cooks, the sweet potato puffs, and from our kitchen to yours, much love.